Hello guys, welcome to another tutorial on Inkscape. In our last lesson we looked at how we can use the select and transform tool. I demonstrated how we can use it to draw shape, select color, rotate, transform and so many other things. I will advise you check out the video under this playlist if you have not seen it. In today's lesson we'll be looking at how we can manipulate shapes in Inkscape. So without no further hesitation, let's get down to it. Alright guys, before we go into today's lesson, which is manipulation of shapes, I would like to talk about some few things which I forgot to mention in the previous lesson. So if you wish to scroll vertically or horizontally on your canvas, you can do that by rolling the wheel on your mouse. You can roll the wheel up or down to scroll vertically. You can also scroll horizontally by holding the shift key on your keyboard. Then you also roll your wheel up or down to scroll horizontally. You can also do that by heading over to this bar here, then you click and drag either up or down to roll vertically. Also with the bottom bar here, you can roll vertically, also you can roll horizontally by clicking and dragging. You can also zoom in and out of your page by just holding down the control button on your keyboard. Then you roll the wheel on your mouse to zoom in and out of your page. You can also do that manually by heading over to this bottom to the zoom panel and clicking the plus key to zoom in, also the minus key to zoom out. You can do that manually on your keyboard by just clicking plus on your keyboard to zoom in and also minus on your keyboard to zoom out. Also, I would like to mention that you can also align an object around your canvas. So to do that, let's insert a shape. So you can click on the square shape and just click and drag to draw, or you hold down your control to have a perfect square. So if you wish to align this shape at the middle of your canvas, so you first of all click on your select and transform tool. When you click on it, you head over to the right side of your panel and click on this triple dot here. Once you click on the triple dot, you open the align and distribution menu. You can see the shortcut which says shift plus control plus A. So aside coming to the right side and clicking this triple dot, you can equally hit shift plus control plus A on my keyboard, open the align panel. So I can align this shape at the middle, at the top or at the left of my canvas, any position I want it to be. So let me zoom out so I will see where I am aligning this shape. So you first of all make sure that the shape you want to align is clicked on. So I'll click on the shape. So I've clicked on the shape I want to align on my canvas. So I head over here. I can click this button here to center the object at the middle of my canvas, but vertically. So when I click it, so it's at the middle of these 2 points here. So I can also align it horizontally by clicking this as well. So you can see that it's at the middle of these 2 points here. I can also take it to the top. Sorry, I can take it to the bottom. I can take it to the top. I can align it to the right, to the left, whichever position I want the object to be, I can as well align it. So we'll look about more things under this panel as the lesson progresses. So that's just it about aligning objects or shapes on your canvas. You can also adjust and place objects on top of each other on your canvas. Let's say for instance, when you have 2 or more shapes on your canvas and you want one shape to be at the top of the other. So let's duplicate this shape to have another shape. So I hit Ctrl D on my keyboard to duplicate, then I click and drag to move the shape I have just duplicated. Let's give this another color. Let's give this a different color and place it on top of the first shape. So we can see that the second shape I just duplicated is at the top of the first shape. But what if I want it to go behind the shape? So I can click on the one I just duplicated, and to make it to be behind the purple square, I can just head over to the top menu here and you see this button that says lower selection to the bottom. So once I click it, you can see that the purple shape is now at the front while it's behind the purple shape. I can also bring it back to the top by clicking this one here to bring back the shape back to the top. But what if we have three shapes and we want one of the shape to be in between the already two existed shape? Let's say for instance I duplicate this again, then I click and drag and I give this another color. So if I want this other square I just duplicated to be in between the purple and the red shape, so I don't want it to be behind, I don't want to be at the top, I just want it in between the two shapes. So I can click and move it on top here. So if I want it to be in between, just as the red is in between now, so I can click on the blue shape and I'll head over to this menu and click on this one here. So you can see that it is in between the two shapes. I can adjust it like this. So we can see that the blue shape is in between the purple and the red. Also, if I have another shape that is covering the whole shape, but I want to select a shape behind without necessarily moving the whole shape. Let's say for instance I have another shape like this. Let's make this yellow color, and the shape is quite big such that it's covering the whole shape, and I want to select what is behind it without actually first moving the shape. Well, to do that you just click on the shape, then you hold your Alt key on your keyboard. When you hold down the Alt key, then you click what is behind the shape. So you can click what is behind the shape by holding down the Alt key. Also, you can move it by still holding down your Alt key, then you move the shape out. I can also do that for the remaining two shapes. While holding down my Alt key, I will click to select, then while still holding down the Alt key, I will click and drag to move it out. Also, I can do that for the last shape which is behind. I will hold down my Alt key and click and drag to move it out. So that's how to select a shape which is behind another shape without necessarily moving the one that is covering it. So you will see how helpful this tool is when we start to work with more shapes and objects in Inkscape. You'll see that it is really helpful in helping us select different types of shapes without necessarily moving or adjusting one to be able to select the other one. Alright, with that being said, we can head over to the lesson for today, which is manipulation of shapes in Inkscape. We can manipulate shapes in Inkscape, so we are starting with a square. So to manipulate a square, we double click on the square, but first let me delete the rest here. I'm selecting three of them by holding the shift key, which enables me to select two or more shapes. Then after selecting, I hit delete key on my keyboard to delete. So let's zoom in a bit and reduce the shape of the square a little bit. So I'm holding Ctrl and Shift while reducing the shape so that it will maintain the same aspect ratio. So if you want to edit a shape in Inkscape, for instance this square, you first of all make sure that you have clicked the shape you want to edit. The next thing to do is to double click on the shape, that is to click twice on the shape. So you will notice that there are now 3 points around the square, 2 of them which are square and a circle. The square is actually used to just resize the shape of the size of the square, so you can drag to whatever size you want, but I'm okay with the previous size, so I will leave it like that. The other square also is to resize, but from the top. Also, I am okay with my size, so I'll hit Ctrl Z to go back to the previous size. But this circle up here is used to curve the edges of the square. You can see this square now have pointed edges, but if we want to make the edges to be curved, we can click and drag this circle here. So you can see that we now have a curved edges. You can drag it all the way down and it will become a circle. Also, you can curve the sides of the square instead of the edges by clicking also the circle bar, but instead of dragging down, you drag towards the left. So you just click and you drag towards the left. So you first of all drag it down, then you drag the other one towards the left. So you can see that you are curving this, you are covering the side now, not just the edges. Also, you can just click and drag, hit Ctrl Z, also click and drag, and then you have curved it all the way to a circle. So I'll hit Ctrl Z to make it back a square. So we can also manipulate the circle shape or the ellipse shape. You can see the shortcut there, which is E. So you can click on the circle shape from the toolbar and click and drag to draw a circle. Also, you can hold Ctrl while dragging to maintain a perfect circle. So now we have drawn a circle. You can give this another color. Let's make this red. So also we can manipulate this circle same way by just double clicking on it. So once you double click on it, you see that the same points appeared also on the circle, the two square and a circle point. So we know that the two square is just to resize the circle. These will resize the width. So I'll hit Ctrl Z, I'm okay with the width. This also will resize the height. Also, I'll hit Ctrl Z, I'm okay with the height, because you can use that point to resize the circle. But this point here is used to do two things. So if you click the circle and you drag it up while your cursor is outside this square line, you will get a form like a Pac-Man shape, which if you move all the way down, it will be as a part taken from a pie chart. Also, if you make the cursor, which is this red stuff, moving, if you bring it into the square shape or the square border around the circle shape and you move, you will not get a Pac-Man. Instead, you will just be having a straight line which will be cutting the circle into diameters as you move on. So if you want to get a Pac-Man, you make sure that the cursor is moved outside the square border. You will get a Pac-Man like shape which can die down to a form of a part from a pie chart. But once you bring the cursor into the square shape, you will be getting a diameter which will just be cutting the circle as you move. So that is pretty much it on how you can manipulate a circle shape. So I will just leave the Pac-Man. Also, there are other shapes you can manipulate. You can also manipulate a star shape. Alright, so we'll first of all insert a star. We can insert a star by heading over to the toolbar on the left hand side, and then we'll click on the create stars and polygon tool, which the shortcut in the bracket is asterisk. That is shift +8 on a typical Windows keyboard to activate the select polygon and star shape. So we can just basically click and drag to create a star. You can hold on Control to maintain same aspect ratio, or you can just click and drag. So now we have a star installed here. I so much love this create star and polygon tool because there are so many ways we can play around with this star shape. So before we go into the manipulation aspect of the shape, there are some basic things that you can also do with the create stars and polygon tool. So once you have your star selected, you just click on the tool again. Then you can head over to the top menu. You can see that you can change the star into a polygon. So it is now a polygon with 5 sides, or you can as well leave it as a star. You can also adjust the corners. You can increase it. The corners are just this star here. You can see it has 1, 2, 3. It has 5 corners. It's indicated there. You can click the plus icon to continue increasing the corners. So let me just reduce it back. You can also reduce it down to 3. This also is the spoke ratio, that is the space or the edges in the corner. So you can increase them. You can see that the edges are going out. So once we reduce them, you can see that they will be reducing in to become more and more sharp. So let us increase it a little bit. So now it's looking much like a Mercedes-Benz logo. Okay, so there are other things that we can also do. So we'll click the create star and polygon tool. So we can also adjust the roundness, which is a very interesting thing. So let me zoom in a bit. if you look at this star here now, you can see that the edges are pointed, sharp and pointed. So we can also make it to be round by increasing the roundness. So just press, so we can see we are making the star to become round. This is a very interesting way you can play with it. You can dial it all the way up. You can see that this shape will be transforming into a pattern like structure. So it is very interesting. There are different ways you can play around with it and get an interesting shape. Also, you can randomize the shape, that's changing the way it looks. So when you increase it, it will be bringing out random different shapes, or it will just basically be distorting the star into different random shapes like that. But if you don't want to distort it, you can just click the X icon here to remove the distortion and all other settings that you have done. So before you even go into the manipulation of the star tool, there are some pretty much settings on the menu on the Windows bar up here that you can play around with. We have talked about increasing or reducing the corners, the spoke ratio, that is the edges in between the corners. You can reduce them or you can increase them. You can also adjust the roundness, that is the pointiness of the star. You can make it to be smooth, round or curved, or you can reduce it down to 0 to make it pointy, or you can also reduce it all the way down and get a random different shape entirely. So let's cancel all the whole setting and go into the manipulation aspect. So to start manipulating this star, once you have your select and transform tool selected and you click on the star, then you double click as well, then you have activated the transform, the manipulation option of this particular star shape. You can see, unlike the other two we looked at, which are the square and the circle, this star is just having 2 points and they are both square. So there's no circle point that you can use to manipulate it, and this square you can use it to increase the roundness, which is basically what I have shown you guys from the Windows bar up here. So but you can also do that manually here. You can do that manually here by clicking and dragging one of this square, and you can also rotate while you are reducing it to have different look to it. So also the second square here, you can use it to like adjust the size and also twist the star a little bit, so you can increase and reduce and twist the star. So there is plenty ways you can play around with this to get a different shape. So the create star and polygon tool is a very interesting tool which you can play around with and generate some wonderful shape and wonderful patterns or objects as you wish. So you can play around with it and see what you can come up with. So that is basically it for the manipulation of the star tool. You can manipulate the star tool into different options as you wish. Also, the next tool here is what we call the spiral tool. You can also head over to your toolbar on the left hand side and select the spiral tool, or you look at the shortcut which is I, or you just click I on your keyboard and you have selected the spiral tool. The spiral tool is just a line in form of a spiral shape. So let's draw it and see. You just click and drag, and there we have it. We have a spiral tool now. So the spiral tool also doesn't have much of manipulation to be done. Once we double click to manipulate, just like this, double click to manipulate, you can see just like the star, we have only 2 points and both points are square. What these 2 points do is to like unroll the spiral or to roll the spiral. So let me demonstrate. So the first square here in the middle, you can use it to unroll the spiral by just click and moving it with your mouse. So you are unrolling it, and you can also roll it back in. While the one outside also can be used also to unroll the spiral, or it can be used to just continuously roll the spiral. You can roll this outside one into infinite amount as you wish. So you can just continue rolling like this to different size. So you can continue rolling like this to an infinite size of spiral as you wish. So you can also use it to dial it down and unroll. So that is just it about the spiral tool. So we can adjust the width of this spiral tool. For instance, if you don't like the way the spiral tool is, maybe it's too tiny, you want to make it be more thick, that is, you want to increase the stroke or outline, you just head over to the down bar here and you double click on this stroke which is showing black, that is the stroke color. By the way, you can change the color of the stroke by just holding down your shift and clicking any other color you want. You can change the stroke of an object just like that. So once you double click on the stroke, that is, double click on the color, it will open the stroke menu for you. Okay, this is the stroke menu, this is the stroke paint, that is the stroke color. You can just play with this color wheel to change the color. Also, when you head over to this stroke style, this is where you can increase the width of the stroke. If you click this plus button, you can see that the stroke is getting bigger and bigger. So that's basically how you can adjust the stroke button, the stroke of an object. Alright guys, so there's one other thing I would like to talk about. I would like to talk about the fact that Inkscape basically knows how to remember a previous setting. So for instance, we can see that previously we have curved a square, and we also, the recent color we used for any shape was this blue color. So when you want to draw a new shape, let's say for instance we want to draw a square and we click and drag to draw a square, we can see that the previous color we used for the previous shape, which is this spiral we just did here, is what is used on this square. So if we change the color now and maybe let's remove the outline, you can see that it also copy the outline, that is the thickness of the outline for the spiral we did. It also copied it, but let me remove the outline and select a different color. For instance, now I also curve this square, and I want to draw another square. You can see that it will remember both the color, the outline, and even the manipulation I did for the square. But what if I don't want this manipulation? I want to change the manipulation. Like, I don't want every setting that Inkscape have copied from my previous shape. All I need to do is to just change it. I'll change the color. Also, if I don't want it to be curved again, I can go up here and click make corner sharp, so you can see that my setting is gotten back. Also, for circle, if I want to draw another circle, you can see that it remembers the manipulation of the circle I just did. And let me zoom in a bit. You can see that if I don't want this manipulation, I just want a normal nice circle, you can see that I'll find it hard to close this part back. It won't close that much. If I zoom in, you see that there's still some part that is still open. So the way to return it back to a normal circle is just heading over to the menu bar here and clicking on this button here, which is make the shape a whole ellipse shape. So that is it. Also, even for the star, you can see that we have did some manipulation on this star. So when I click on the create star and polygon tool and I draw another star, you can see that it maintains the same spoke ratio, the same roundness, the same corner size, everything of the previous shape, just that it changed the color, and the color it picked it from the previous shape. So I can just change the color, and if I don't want all the manipulation that was done on the previous star, I just want a normal star, I'll just head over to the top menu as well, and I'll see a button that says reset shape parameter to default. So once I click on it, I will have back my normal star. So that is it, guys. That's basically much it for shape manipulation for this. In the next lesson, we'll look at more in-depth use case for the stroke tool and the fill tool, how we can do gradient fill, spiral and linear fill, and many more other things. So guys, that will be it for now, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.